Hello everybody, welcome back. So I'm going to give you a brief introduction into how I margin trade. Alright, so there's a lot of people out there margin trading already, that's fine, but this is how I do it. And if you're new to it, this is what I would suggest you do. So I use Bityard almost exclusively use Bityard for margin trading. There's a few reasons for it, I'll just run through them. You've got the lowest trading fees, that's fine. You've got an enormous amount of variety of altcoins to choose from. You've also got derivatives of traditional markets and commodities as well that you can trade, all in Tether, which is good. You've got all the indicators that you need, and also it's relatively new. I mean, it's about a year old or something. They're fully regulated and everything like that, so there's no chance of this of Bityard getting in any kind of trouble in the future. They're all sort of very transparent with all the certificates and things like that, so that's good as well. You can automatically set up your stop loss and take profit ratio, which is something that I value greatly. This allows me, and we'll talk about this shortly, to stick to the disciplines. Discipline is one of the main components of this, and they've never gone down. If you've been trading with Binance recently, or just generally, you'll have noticed that on occasion they go down. There's such a large exchange that they sometimes they cannot deal with the huge amount of trading that takes place on there. And if you were to be doing futures trading on there, that can be pretty nerve-wracking, to be honest. You don't want that happening, especially in times of volatility where the money can be really made. I trade on Binance all the time. That's my preference for spot trading. I mean, you can do spot trading on Bityard, but I prefer Binance for spot trading. Margin trading, Bityard's my preference. So that's the main reasons I use it. Like I say, low fees, never gone down, variety, including traditional markets, and whatnot. So this is how I have everything set, right? I have got my automatic settings here to have a 10% stop loss ratio. That forces me to be certain, well, as confident as I can be to enter a trade. If it goes the wrong way by 10%, that's including the leverage. So if I had a 5x leverage on here, if it goes down 2%, it's gone. I will lose, well, 10% of my overall. This is completely up to you how you do your margin trades, but for me, I always have my margin trades are always $500. I just have it, no more, no less, $500 every single time. That is how I do it. $500, and pretty much I only use 5x leverage. Rarely would I ever use anything else. 5x leverage, $500 every single time. The charge would be $2.50, and if this went the wrong way by 2%, my stop loss ratio would be hit. I would lose $50 of my 500. Alright, that's fine. That's how I set it up. My balance at the moment stands at 5,000. I obviously want to keep it at 5,000 or increase it. That's the deal. But if it goes down, it's only going to go down by a matter of $50 with every bad trade that I make. It's not going to go down a massive amount. I'm not going to liquidate my entire balance, which I hear people doing all the time. That wouldn't happen to me because I have this set up in a very particular way. And by having it set up like that, it means that sometimes when you're sitting down making margin trades, you think to yourself, right, I've got 2 hours. I've got 2 hours spare today. I'm going to do some trading. All right, fair enough. Doesn't mean that there's a trade that's going to present itself to you in that 2 hours, right? Most of the time, sitting and waiting for a trade is like fishing, and I don't go fishing, but this is the analogy I use, which is that if you were to sit down and go fishing, I'm going fishing this weekend, fine. I'm going to catch the biggest fish. Good luck to you. You cannot rush a fish to your hook. All right, you still have to go throughout the whole process. Yes, you have to put your rod in the water, the hook in the water, wait for it to bite. You can't rush that fish to come and bite that hook. So it's exactly the same in trading. Just because you're sitting down ready to do some trades doesn't mean that the trade is going to present itself. Right? You still have to wait for the trade opportunity to present itself to you. And knowing that is half the battle. Because if you're sitting down here at the weekend going, well, today I'm going to make $1,000, it's not going to work like that. You might make $1,000, but only if the trade allows it. It allows you to do that. So we've got our risk management set up that helps me with the discipline that I have to remind myself every single time. I could be sitting here for an hour going, oh, I am bored, I am going to make a trade because I'm just so bored. No, don't do that. Don't do that. You might win, you might lose. You're gambling at that point. That's not how to do it. So yeah, risk reward, discipline. It's the same thing. And if you lose 10%, then you lose 10%. You don't lose 100%. Or anywhere in between, and you will thank yourself in the end. You'll thank yourself that you only lost $50 or whatever it is, 10%. You will thank yourself every time. It might hurt, but it can always hurt a hell of a lot more. Trust me on this. You need risk management, and that's how I do it. And that's one of the reasons I like this setup, because it's fast. If I want to get into a trade, I just want to go for it. My settings are already complete. I just go in. I'm in the trade. If you were to do that with Binance or other platforms, you go in, then you go through the laborious task of setting up your stop loss and thingies. Or if you want to get in quick, then you do it afterwards. If it goes the wrong way, at the end of the day, here it's all set up. It's automatic. It's my preference, my preset. It's good to go, ready to go. So, that out the way. If you're new to this, you've never margin traded before, I'll give you two options here. Here, you can actually have a demo account where you've got pretend money that you can trade with, and that's fine. You can do that. That works just well, so long as you take it seriously and you treat it seriously. There's a psychological aspect to that. If it's not real money, there's definitely a psychological part of you that's not really going to take it seriously. You might think you are, I think, but depends on what type of person you are. I'm not going to say that it's the best thing for you to do, but if you wanted to, you could practice with $5, which is the minimum here. You do $5 trades. It would cost you 20 cents per trade. You could practice every aspect of this trade and hope that it works out for you. So, $5 trades, you might think, well, I'm not going to make any money, $5 trades. It's not about that. It's about getting practice for what I would consider to be a useful tool for when the bear market comes at the end of the year. Right, so that's how I set my trades up. 5x leverage almost all the time, 500%, $500 with my settings already preset. How do I go about setting up an actual trade? Well, first of all, I start from the daily charts. So looking at this with Bitcoin, the daily chart suggests that we are already reaching what could be considered an area for pullback. We've got at the top of the Bollinger Band there. We've also got these three candle bodies here, 1, 2, 3, where there was previous tops, all-time highs basically. If we were to measure that out, I don't expect that from the price we're at right now that that's an enormous move to be had. So that in itself could offer itself up a maximum of about 3.9%. That's good, but also what would likely happen from here? Probably a pullback. So is there a trade to be had here? A big long trade? No, there's not. 4 hourly, what does that suggest? We're also at resistance at the top of this Bollinger Band here. It's not an entry point. 1 hourly, exactly the same deal. Top of the Bollinger Band, no entry point there. Okay, fair enough. A 30-minute chart, pretty much the same deal. 15-minute chart, kind of the same deal, although we can now start to see a bit of a structure with some entry points for some small scalps. This 10 exponential is holding up okay for the moment. You could think to yourself, I could do a very small scalp from here to perhaps towards the top of here, but it's not going to be very big. And 5-minute, which is where you really want to look at getting a decent entry point, because it's all about getting the right entry point. Then there's relevance to this as well. At the centre of the Bollinger Band is being retested, and that's also an entry point for a short scalp. And if that were to be a scalp, if we were to come down to test that again, if we were lucky to test that again, we could only hope that we would reach maybe the last candle body. So we're only talking about a matter of about 1% move. That's not really a day to be trading. So this is one of those times when you'll be sitting with your fishing rod for a long time and maybe have to walk away after a couple of hours. You have to admit to yourself that there's no entry point there. That's fine. I'll come back another day. I've appropriately balanced out the situation. Today's not the day. Maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. At the end of the day, it's about making money, not losing money. And if you're able to just take yourself away and go, well, it's not going to happen for me today, that's fine. That's the right thing to do. Trust me, that is the right thing to do. So overall, that is a brief introduction in how I set my trades up and why I use Bityard. Now obviously we're looking to brush up our skills. If you're new to this, brush up your skills for the inevitable bear market, which should come next year, and that would involve short selling. So this is the one that we would be focusing on using next year. This is the one obviously we'll be using in the bull market. This is where you go long, this is where you go short. But you probably know that by now. But to be honest, this is just a brief introduction of how to go about setting up a trade. and how to instill your discipline. And this platform helps me do that because I've automatically got everything set up. And again, you've got low fees on here, and the whole thing it's never gone down in the entire time I've used it. So I would definitely recommend you set up a Bityard account for margin trading. You can also have the app is available as well, so you can use it on your phone. But really, the best way to do these are on your computer, where you have access to all the indicators. And indicators are things that you can learn on my Patreon as well. So, and they all are exactly the same. You know, whether you're using it on a 5-minute chart, 15-minute chart, daily, or a weekly, they all do the same thing. They're to be viewed in the same way. So that's something else. But that's an ongoing learning thing for you to learn the indicators. But with margin trading, one of the biggest aspects, if not the biggest, is your own discipline and risk management, basically. Anyway, I'll leave it with you there. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a nice day. Take it easy.